Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Humiliated by the girl he loved. 2 years later, he returned for revenge. Berkeley was a city buzzing with ideas, innovation, and dreams. At the heart of this excitement, the renowned university attracted the nation's best students each year, young people with boundless ambitions, ready to conquer the world. Among this mass of brilliant students, one name stood out. His name was Nathan Brooks. At 19, Nathan was a quiet, almost self-effacing boy. His slight frame and slightly stooped gait betrayed a deep shyness. He always wore his old, worn sneakers and dark hoodies, preferring to blend into the shadows of the corridors rather than attract attention. His thick glasses often slipped down his nose, and his fingers never stopped tapping away at his laptop keyboard, a refuge to which he could escape. Unlike most students, he didn't go to parties, didn't participate in clubs, and didn't seek popularity. He had a very small circle, his older brother, Aiden Brooks. Aiden, strong and charismatic, had left the army to become a personal trainer. The two brothers shared a small, modest apartment a few blocks from campus. There, in this modest dwelling filled with technical books and sports equipment, Nathan found a delicate balance. Despite his discretion, Nathan had an astonishing memory. He never forgot a face, a detail, a moment. And above all, he never forgot Lena Walker. Lena was everything Nathan wasn't, a shooting star who lit up every room she entered. She had meticulously styled ash blonde hair, flawless skin, and that icy blue gaze that seemed to peer into the soul. Every day, she wore impeccably curated outfits, somewhere between smart and casual, that drew admiring and envious glances. Lena was a marketing student with a passion for social media, where she had already amassed thousands of followers. Her smile was a weapon, sweet, charming, yet capable of cutting like a knife. She knew exactly what effect she had. She captivated, fascinated, manipulated. Groups formed around her, in the cafeteria, in classes, all over campus. She was the queen of the school, or rather, of the university. Nathan, on the other hand, admired her from afar, with a dull ache in his chest. Every time she received a like on a photo, every time she flashed a smile at another boy, Nathan felt a burning sensation inside him. He knew she would never turn to him. But he dreamed anyway. One day, during a joint marketing class, Nathan happened to be sitting next to Lena. His heart was pounding, but he managed a shy hello. To his surprise, Lena answered, polite, almost kind. "Hi, Nathan. Do you understand what the teacher said?" He stammered out a reply, amazed that she was talking to him. Gradually, these exchanges became more frequent. Nathan would ask her questions about projects and social media, and she would respond with a smile, sometimes even a light laugh. Then one day she asked him something that changed everything. "Nathan, could you help me create a website? I have a personal project, nothing big, but I need someone who really knows what I'm doing." For Nathan, it was an unexpected invitation. He accepted, his heart pounding. For 3 weeks, Nathan locked himself in his room, working day and night on the site. He created a sleek, intuitive page with all the elements Lena wanted. Sometimes she sent him messages to thank him or request adjustments, and each time, Nathan felt his heart race. The day before the launch, Lena invited him to a party she was hosting. A party attended by the entire campus. She wanted to thank him in person. For Nathan, it was a dream come true. But Nathan had no idea what Lena really had planned. This party was not a sincere gift. It was a trap. What he didn't know was that he had become the main joke of the evening. Friday night had arrived faster than Nathan had imagined. That night, he dressed as best he could, clean jeans, a slightly oversized shirt, and his favorite, albeit worn, sneakers. He'd spent hours in front of the mirror, mentally rehearsing what he was going to say, how he was going to behave. He just wanted to live up to it, to appear normal, for once. As he left the apartment, his brother Aiden gave him a meaningful look. "Remember, Nate, be yourself. No pretense. Nathan nodded, but a knot of anxiety knotted his stomach. He arrived in front of the house where the party was in full swing. Music was vibrating the walls, laughter and voices rose up into the street. Nathan took a deep breath, opened the door, and entered. Inside, the lights flickered, and students danced or chatted in small groups. But Nathan, despite himself, felt like an intruder. No one really noticed him. His footsteps echoed on the wooden floor, but no one looked at him. He felt invisible. Once again. Then, in the middle of the room, she appeared. Lena, radiant as always, was waiting for him with a dazzling smile and a drink in her hand. She wore that head-turning red dress, her blonde hair falling in perfectly shaped curls. When she saw Nathan, her smile widened, almost carnivorous. "You're here. Come on, I want to show you something," she said, her voice as soft as velvet. Without giving Nathan time to respond, she grabbed his arm and pulled him through the crowd, into the living room. The room was packed. Everyone had gathered around a large screen, clearly waiting for a show. Nathan felt his heart race. An icy tension settled in the air. Then, without warning, the video started. The footage showed Nathan, unwittingly captured in private moments, his clumsy gestures, his hesitations, his discussions with Lena. The clips were cut, distorted, and carefully edited to make people laugh. Then Lena's voice, clear and sharp, rang out. "Seriously, do you think I could go out with him? I feel sorry for him." A general burst of laughter erupted in the room. Students pointed at Nathan, whispering, snickering. Nathan's face froze, his eyes searched for help, for compassion, but there were only mocking smiles and amused glances. Lena approached, her gaze shining with contempt. "It was a dare, Nate, that's all. Did you really think you were special?" Silence fell, heavy, oppressive. Nathan felt the ground give way beneath his feet, his body paralyzed, his heart breaking. He didn't say a word. Without a backward glance, he left the house. His legs were shaking, but he didn't run. He walked slowly, his face downcast, his head empty. That evening, Nathan Brooks symbolically died. The naive, vulnerable, hopeful part of him vanished into the night. But something else was born in this pain, a cold anger, an indestructible fire that would push him to rise again, to transform himself, to be reborn stronger. The morning after the party, the sun seemed bright, almost ironic in the face of the inner storm tearing Nathan apart. He opened his eyes, his face heavy, his body numb with the weight of humiliation. Every pixel on his computer screen reminded him of what he had been through. With a determined, almost mechanical gesture, he began deleting all his social media accounts. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everything was disappearing, as if he wanted to erase his digital existence, that fake showcase where Lena had exposed him. His phone, a symbol of his social life, or rather of his isolation, was turned off, unplugged, and put away in a drawer that he mentally locked. Then he refused to return to university. His older brother, Aiden, was the first to try to bring him back to reality. He wasn't a man of big words, but his actions spoke for themselves. He found Nathan slumped on the couch, his eyes lost in space, his body broken. "You can cry, Nate. You can fall apart. But you can also choose to get back up." Nathan looked away, his throat tight. "But I don't want to be that victim anymore," he whispered. Aiden sat down next to him, his gaze hard but full of compassion. "Then don't be. From today on, you become someone else. Not a broken boy, but a man forged in fire." The very next day, Aiden took Nathan to the gym. It was hard. Very hard. Every morning they started with the jump rope, torture for Nathan's fragile breath. Then weight training, running, endurance exercises. Every drop of sweat became a drop of rage released. His once weak body was hardening. His mind, however, did not want to be satisfied with physical strength. By day, Nathan immersed himself in private lessons, away from the gaze of other students. He wanted to master computer engineering, cybersecurity, and advanced software development. At night, illuminated by the blue light of his screens, he coded tirelessly. He developed ALYX, an artificial intelligence capable of analyzing human behavior on the internet, predicting reactions, and, above all, subtly manipulating public perception. This was his revenge, not through brute force, but through mastery of digital technology, psychology, and reputation. Nathan devoured hundreds of books: social psychology, media manipulation, influence strategies, neuroscience, the history of great strategists. He learned how the media shapes opinion, how rumors spread, how fear or admiration can be provoked. He studied the art of discretion, patience, control. Despite everything, Lena never left his thoughts. He relived that evening, that humiliation, over and over again. But this time, the pain turned into cold determination. He no longer wanted explosive anger, vulgar revenge. He wanted revenge for calculated silence. 2 years had passed. During that time, Lena Walker had transformed her social media presence into a veritable empire. With over 500,000 followers on Instagram, she had become one of the most prominent influencers of her generation. Her collaborations with luxury brands continued: high-end cosmetics, designer clothing, exclusive travel. She hosted prestigious conferences on personal branding, presenting her as a model of success. Her image shone in magazines, on screens, and across all platforms. She was credited with a meteoric, almost surreal, career. Yet beneath the glossy veneer, Lena was beginning to feel a dull unease, an unpleasant shudder she didn't want to acknowledge. The first sign came almost innocuously. One of her sponsors, a major cosmetics brand, abruptly announced that it was withdrawing its collaboration. The reasons? An online leak revealed that Lena had copied, almost word for word, the content of another, lesser-known creator. A serious accusation in the cutthroat world of influencer marketing. The video circulated quickly. Disappointed fans began to question its integrity. Shortly after, another video surfaced. Dating back several years, it showed Lena cruelly mocking an autistic fan, sneering at her social difficulties during a meet and greet. This once-forgotten footage was unearthed and widely shared. The virality was instantaneous. Anger raged on social media. The hashtags #CancelLena and #NoMoreFakes became global trends. Lena saw her world collapse in a few days. Her management agency, fearing scandal, publicly dropped her, denouncing her lack of professionalism and her incompatible values. Hate messages poured in by the thousands. Her comments turned into virtual battlegrounds. Every day, she lost thousands of followers, which directly impacted her income. The brands, which had been loyal until then, backed down. His reputation seemed to vanish in a flash. In the midst of this storm, an anonymous message appeared in his inbox. Simple. Court. Do you remember me? I haven't forgotten anything. N. Lena felt her blood run cold. A shiver of anxiety ran through her. She knew that, N, but she preferred to ignore it, convincing herself it was a disappointed fan, a troll. Yet this sentence awakened a deep, buried fear. She then hired a cybersecurity specialist to understand who was behind this campaign, which appeared to be orchestrated. But the more they dug, the more diffuse the origins of the attacks appeared. Multiple IP addresses, fake accounts, anonymous campaigns. A sophisticated strategy that left few traces. Every track was lost in a digital labyrinth. Yet, in Lena's mind, the name Nathan Brooks had not yet come to mind. The boy she had humiliated seemed like a distant memory today, almost erased by the glitz and glamour of her life. But her past would soon catch up with her. In the heart of Manhattan, in a glass building reflecting the city's ambitious ambitions, a young company was making waves, Brooks Innovations. In just 2 years, this startup had successfully raised several $1 million from investors fascinated by its cutting-edge technologies. Specializing in ethical artificial intelligence, digital security, and social influence, Brooks Innovations positioned itself as a key player in new technologies. Its founder, a discreet and mysterious man, carefully avoided interviews and the media spotlight. His name circulated little, but his aura was already impressive. Meanwhile, Lena, broke and humiliated, desperately tried to put her life back on track. With her fame gone and her contracts gone, she accepted a modest offer, a position as a communications manager at a startup. She needed money, stability, an anchor away from the tumult of her public fall. She had an online interview with a cold, professional recruiter who showed her no compassion. Despite her doubts, she was hired. The fateful day arrived. Lena walked through the modern doors of Brooks Innovations, dressed modestly, trying to appear confident. She felt the weight of her past on her shoulders, but forced herself to move forward. She was led to a meeting room for a team presentation. Then, at the back of the room, she saw him. He was Nathan. There he stood, elegantly dressed in a dark, impeccably tailored suit. His gaze was hard, penetrating, filled with a calm and formidable confidence. She didn't recognize him right away. His image, anchored in her memory, was that of the shy and withdrawn boy. But when he met her gaze, she knew. A breath escaped her. Nate. He looked at her without emotion. Hello, Lena. I'm delighted to have you on my team. Lena, her voice trembling, tried to find the words. I'm sorry. I never meant to. He cut her off abruptly, his voice calm but implacable. You humiliated me to entertain others. You destroyed me for a few likes. I deleted you without raising my voice. A heavy silence fell. Nathan continued, without raising his voice. You're going to work here. You're going to see what it's like to be invisible. And you're going to learn. Lena felt a ball of anxiety and guilt rising within her. She realized her fall was only just beginning. Working under the same roof as the one she had trampled under, becoming master of her own destiny, was as much a punishment as it was a lesson. She knew she could no longer run away. Her past was catching up with her, embodied by this transformed man, who now held the keys to her future. The months passed in a cold, relentless routine. Lena now worked in a windowless office, a cramped, almost claustrophobic space, isolated from the rest of the team. Under Nathan's strict, silent watch, her every move was scrutinized with almost military-like attention. Every mistake, no matter how small, resulted in punishment. A cold rebuke, a warning, a temporary removal of responsibility. His successes, however real and tangible, were greeted with a simple shrug or ignored altogether. The light that she had once embodied had gradually faded, stifled by the demands and rigor imposed. Yet something was changing. Stripped of her armor of arrogance and superficial brilliance, Lena began to open up. She met Madison, a colleague with a calm personality, whose wisdom and gentleness contrasted with the tense environment. Madison read books on emotional intelligence, resilience, and human psychology. She shared her readings and her ideas. Lena, intrigued, found herself borrowing these books. Conversations with Madison opened up another perspective for him, one of understanding, forgiveness, and inner growth. One day, while Nathan and Madison were talking in an adjacent office, Madison, sensing the tension in the air, allowed herself a rare frankness. You won, Nathan. You took back control, you surpassed her. But you still haven't healed. Nathan looked at her for a long time, the silence heavy with meaning. In his eyes, one could sense the inner war, the duality between past anger and the peace that still eluded him. A year later, Lena left Brooks Innovations. She had changed. Humble and aware of past mistakes, she created a foundation dedicated to educating young people about cyberbullying, determined to transform her pain into collective strength. Nathan, meanwhile, continued building his technological empire. But he no longer felt the need to crush it or force it to bend. He had surpassed it, not out of revenge, but out of excellence. One day, in the quiet of his office, Nathan received a message. Thank you for teaching me the lesson no one else would have taught me. Lena. A smile, both sad and peaceful, crossed his face. Without a word, he deleted the message. Revenge hadn't given him back what he'd lost that night in that house in Berkeley. But she had transformed him. And sometimes, in the silence of resilience and time, true legends are born.